Hello viewers, you're welcome once again. Today we shall be looking at the first part of how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. If you have not seen our tutorials on different factoring techniques, check the links in the description to this video. Now to take on this, we will need to first talk about something important, and that will be zero product property. What do we mean by this zero product property? The zero product property is the fact that when we multiply two numbers, for instance, the product of A and B, and the product gives 0, it simply means that either A, the first number, is 0, or B, the second number, is 0. Both of them could also be 0. Another example here is this. If we have the product of x minus 1 and x plus 2 to be 0, then by the zero product property, it is either x minus 1 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. Now, what value of x could make x minus 1 to be 0? X minus 1 could be 0 when x is 1. That is by adding 1 to both sides. Then x plus 2 will be 0 when x is negative 2. That is by subtracting 2 from both sides. Now that we have seen what is meant by the zero product property, let us go into the details of solving quadratic equations by factoring, where we will be making use of this zero product property along the line. The first equation we are going to be looking at is x squared minus 3x equals to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation containing only two terms. That's a binomial quadratic equation. So what we just do is look at what is common to the two terms that we've got there on the left hand side, x squared minus 3x. The highest common factor is x, so we take it out and put the rest in a bracket where we have x minus 3 when we take x out, and that will be equal to 0. Applying the zero product property we have learned earlier on, if x times x minus 3 is 0, either x is 0 or x minus 3 is 0, meaning that the solutions to this quadratic equation will be x equals to 0 or x equals to 3 when we add 3 to both sides. Don't forget, the solutions to a quadratic equation are also called roots. They are also called roots. Here is another example, x squared equals to 5x minus 4. In cases like this, we will need to rearrange first so that 0 is on the right hand side, and that will be done by subtracting 5x from both sides. So we have minus 5x on the left hand side, and adding 4 to both sides, making plus 4, and on the right hand side, having done so, we'll be left with 0. As learned in our previous tutorial, when we have this kind of equation, how do we factor it? We are going to look for the factors of the constant term, positive 4, whose product will give us minus 5, will give us negative 5. Now, if the sum of the product must be negative 5 and the product should give positive 4, then the two factors must be negative, as stated in our previous tutorial. Now, if the two must be negative, then the factors of plus 4 that will give us negative 5 when added together will be negative 1 and negative 4. Factoring the left hand side straight away is going to be x minus 1 times x minus 4, and that is equal to 0. Then applying the zero product property, x minus 1 could either be 0 or x minus 4 is 0. When x minus 1 is 0, adding 1 to both sides will give us x equals to 1, and adding 4 to both sides for the second one will give us x equals to 4. So the solutions, which we also call the roots of the quadratic equation x squared equals to 5x minus 4, are x equals to 1 or x equals to 4. Here we have another one, 3x squared plus 2x minus 16 equals to 0. You'll notice that the leading coefficient is not 1 here. The leading coefficient is 3. We are going to apply the slide and divide method in factoring this. If you have not seen our tutorial on the slide and divide method, check the link in the description. It is right there. In this slide and divide method, we are going to slide 3 to negative 16, that is the multiply, such that we have x squared plus 2x minus 48 equals to 0. Then we factor this one as normal, like we did earlier on, where we look for the factors of negative 48, whose sum will be plus 2, the middle term. Now, if the product is negative 48 and the middle term is positive, then one of them must be positive, while the other is negative. Now, what are these factors? The factors are negative 6 and positive 8. When added together, will give us positive 2. So the quadratic equation simply factors out as x minus 6, x plus 8 equals to 0. Then we will need to factor out the 3, the leading coefficient, by using it to divide the constant terms in the brackets, so that we have x minus 6 divided by 3. That's the dividing aspect of the slide and divide method. Then x plus 8 over 3 equals to 0, giving us x minus 2. And since 3 cannot divide 8, the 3 will be slided back to the x to give us 3x plus 8 equals to 0. Now that is the factoring aspect. Applying the zero product property, either x minus 2 is 0 or 3x plus 8 is 0. If x minus 2 is 0, it simply means x must be 2. Then for 3x plus 8 to be 0, that simply means 3x must be negative 8. And finally, we have x to be 2 or x to be minus 8 over 3 as the solutions or the roots of the equation 3x squared plus 2x minus 16 equals to 0. Final example to reinforce the slide and divide method. We have 5x squared equals to 11x minus 2. We will need to rearrange first. In rearranging this, we have 5x squared minus 11x plus 2 equals to 0. That's subtracting 11x from both sides and adding 2 to both sides. Then the next step is to slide the 5 to the 2, meaning that we'll be left with x squared minus 11x plus 10 when 5 multiplies 2 equals to 0. So using the slide and divide method, we look for the factors of plus 10 whose sum will be negative 11. And for the sum to be negative 11, that means the two factors must be negative. And these are negative 1 and negative 10. Such that the quadratic equation factors as x minus 1, x minus 10 equals to 0. We will then use the leading coefficient to divide the constant terms in the bracket, which is going to be x minus 1 over 5 in the first bracket and x minus 10 over 5 in the second bracket equals to 0. In as much as 1 cannot be divided by 5, we slide the 5 back to x to give us 5x minus 1. And in the second bracket, we have x minus 2 equals to 0. And by the zero product property, 5x minus 1 is 0 or x minus 2 is 0. If 5x minus 1 is 0, it simply means that 5x will be 1. And if x minus 2 is 0, it means that x must be 2. And dividing both sides, the first one by 5, we have x to be equal to 1 over 5 or x equals to 2 as the solutions to the quadratic equation. We believe that after seeing those examples on how to solve quadratic equations by factoring, you should be able to take this exercise. So take it, comment with your solution in the comment section, or you can send your solution to the email attached to the description of this video. Watch out for the second part of this video, and if you are yet to see our previous videos on factoring techniques, the links are in the description. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get more from us, even as the tutorials continue. Thank you.